Corpse Bride is based on a 19th century European folktale. The story was introduced to Tim Burton by fellow animator Joe Ranft, who recognised the macabre story as something Burton might find appealing. From the outset, Burton wanted to animate this story using stop motion, a medium he considers to be particularly effective in communicating emotion. Like so many of Burton's projects, Corpse Bride bubbled away on the back burner before there was any serious attempt to make the film. After working to develop a script that would be sufficiently sympathetic to each of the three protagonists, Burton did a series of character drawings, some of which are on display here. These original drawings were refined and developed by Spanish character designer Carlos Grangle, whose work Burton first came across at the studios of puppet makers McKinnon and Saunders. Based in Manchester in the UK, McKinnon and Saunders first collaborated with Burton on Mars Attacks and were delighted when the Corpse Bride project finally got off the ground. Working from the designs produced by Grangle and the other artists contributing to the project, the studio took about 1.5 years to craft the Corpse Bride puppets. As part of a complex and multifaceted construction process, animation puppets are built around a stiff armature or jointed skeleton that can be moved ever so slightly for each animation frame. The Corpse Bride puppets were made larger than usual so their faces could be more subtly expressive. Each of the characters has a very distinctive body shape and silhouette, as the puppets on display in the exhibition reveal. The Corpse Bride characters can be seen as a play on the squash and stretch principle of animation, which is used to add both dimensionality and an exaggerated cartoonish effect to animated characters and objects. It is a technique often used in Walt Disney animations, and these characters are a nod back to Burton's days as an animator at Disney. Although Burton relishes the crafted, organic quality of stop-motion animation, the production of Corpse Bride benefited from the use of digital camera technology that gives instant feedback and greatly simplifies the editing process. An audio clip will now play. You are listening to Roberta Cibarra, Acme Film Programmer.
Corpse Bride is one of my favourite Tim Burton films because it marries Burton's limitless imagination and the technical sophistication and wonderful tactile quality of the stop-motion process Burton is so well versed in, with the wit and pathos that are marks of Burton's storytelling. Emily, voiced by Helena Bonham Carter, the Corpse Bride of the title, in particular for me, ranks alongside Edward Scissorhands and Martin Landau's portrayal of Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood as among the most poignant and sympathetic characters in Burton's gallery of quirky outsider protagonists. She's a plucky heroine, Emily, a tragic figure when it comes down to it, but one who refuses to wallow in self-pity. Despite her awkward circumstances and the fact that she isn't quite alive in a conventional sense, she's a very spirited and can-do young woman. I also love the way Burton's signature sense of humour comes through. For example, in the way Emily's resident worm, whose name is Maggot, speaks with a Peter Lorre accent. And in a tender scene with Emily in the underworld, in which Victor, who is voiced by Johnny Depp, is reunited with his much-loved, dearly departed dog, Scraps. The image of a boy and his dog is an endearing motif that recurs throughout Burton's films. Think of Pee Wee Herman and his dog Speck in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and the young hero of Frankenweenie, Victor, who decides to reanimate his beloved pet dog, Sparky. The underworld is an unexpectedly lively place too, with a vibe pitched somewhere between the groovy ghoulies of the 60s cartoon show, for anyone old enough to remember, and a jazzy 1930s-style speakeasy. Danny Elfman's songs, lyrics and musical score add immeasurably to the tone of the film. He also voices the character of Bone Jangles. Corpse Bride is, of course, one of the films that feature in the Tim Burton Film Retrospective, screening in Acme cinemas in tandem with the exhibition.